space, but it's wonderful to have everyone here tonight. It's wonderful to meet people that I've heard about for so long, and just to be together in this round together. So this is our annual capstone and thesis presentation, but because we're so high tech, we live stream. So it just seems like we have to do live from New York. It's we'll keep working on that. But we have a wonderful lineup of presentations this evening, so congratulations to everyone. Please keep in mind that tonight is a celebration of everyone, because families are here, and mothers are here, and fathers are here, and significant others and friends. No one does this alone. And those who are presenting tonight are very, I know, I can speak for them, are very grateful for all the support that families and friends and everyone in their lives have given them over what could have been 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, right? All of us have been on our own journeys. And so thank you, family and friends. Also to the faculty who are here with us tonight, and also to the faculty who are out there listening on live stream. So Professor Steve Dishart, I know, is there, and Michael Bayer is there, and I'm sure others are out there. Thank you to the faculty who spend so much time and heart working with students, and I know I can speak for them as well to say it's one of the most joyous parts of our jobs to work with all of you on these projects and to see you succeed. So we have a lineup tonight. Everyone's going to come up. We have all of their presentations in a Google Drive, so you can just pop up and upload your slides or start your slides from there. All the students have 10 minutes to present, and so we have, look at minutes ready to go. Professor Logan is going to help keep time, and then we'll swap. All right, and Professor Dewa will swap with her, and she's got slides going. And then we'll take 2 questions for every presentations or comments as well. We try to keep things moving because as you have family around you, we want to go celebrate with family tonight as well. So we want to make sure that we give you that time. And so pardon if we're doing just doing it to keep us moving. All right. So with that, Claire, if you want to pop in here, I'll put this down. So,
none of us professors ever need a microphone. Can everybody hear us? Yes. Okay. My name is Minna Logeman, and I have the pleasure to start the evening with Cleon, who was ready, like you saw immediately here. We started collaborating on January 13th, and he was already halfway ready. He finished before the end of April. That's pretty much a record. So overall, I had how many?
Sessions, I would say about 8 to 9.
8 Mondays this spring at 8 o'clock. He's ready to shoot before going to work. And that was the really sunny beginning for my week, because this gentleman is a sunshine himself. I mean, he's positive that kicked the week so nicely to begin. And now, he's always been passionate about reputation.
Yes.
So you learn something about reputation. He took a deep dive into it. So,
Thank you, Professor. Thank you all for coming. I cannot start this without saying thank you to Professor Logeman for those recording Zoom sessions. Thank you, Professor Dr. Medved. Thank you, Dr. Wood. Professor Woods, I don't think he's here yet. But without further ado, I'm going to get started on my presentation for corporate reputation, the currency of communication. So, I wanted a different view.
Here's a slideshow.
what have you?
Good On the top. Yeah, and then you're gonna go to, do you wanna read the notes, right?
Yeah. It's not showing.
It should come up there, like.
Present.
He's presented you, it says on that primary one, like that, now try
This-
I need that, I need that too.
Okay. That's a little strange.
Anybody can tap dance?
Yeah, I downloaded it from Google Science, so it shouldn't have.
You know what?
Okay. So I'll just wing it, because I'm not sure why it's not showing in. Okay. That's fine. Thank you, I appreciate it. So again, my presentation is corporate reputation, the currency of communication. So what is reputation? Reputation is a currency that helps distinguish companies from their competition. The more this currency a business creates, the more trust they will build with their consumer base, or the more likely consumers will purchase the company's newest product. Because a strong reputation makes a brand look more appealing to customers. If a company doesn't have a strong reputation, do you see yourself buying from them? Do you see they're untrustworthy? Why buy their products? Who wants to be associated with a company that has a bad reputation? Nobody. Because if they're in the news and they've been found out that they've, I don't know, stole money or something, that's a bad look on the company. And then you start wondering to yourself, why did you buy from that company in the first place? So these days, people want to buy products from companies that are environmentally friendly, companies that are conscious of how they absorb resources from their environment, companies that do not rely on child labor. What child deserves to be in a factory, they deserve to be in school, in the playground with their friends on the weekends. Companies that invest in their communities. If the community buys from that company on a regular basis, it's nice for the company to invest in their community by funding a tennis match or funding a marathon. They keep their promises on walk and talk. If companies say they're going to do something, they're going to do what they say. They're not just going to say something just to sound good. Companies that offer strong customer service. If you don't like their product, you have a problem with their product, you can call their customer service hotline and they will assist you from beginning to end. They have transparent communication, they act with integrity, they have brand consistency, an online presence, and they have strong qualities and values. All of these together helps to build corporate reputation. Google, JP Morgan, Washington Mutual is no longer here, but any top performing company you can think of, they have all of these ingredients to make them more popular. So why is reputation important? This is a quote from Mr. Warren Buffett back in 2021. It takes 20 years to build a reputation and 5 minutes to ruin it. If you think about that, you will do things differently. If any company that you hear in the news that in a negative light, that's damaging to their reputation. Now they have to have a communications team come and repair that to some degree, if they can repair it at all. If a company is perceived to have a bad reputation, it can be difficult to regain the public's trust, generate revenue, or participate in joint ventures with other companies. Here are 2 examples on the screen. On the left, you have Mr. Scarelli, who was popular for marking up the price of a popular medicinal drug that people were not able to buy because it was too expensive. And on the right, he needs no introduction. Mr. Musk speaks for himself. He's currently leaving the federal government because of the nonsense that he's been doing, and people are showing their frustration with him. How are they doing that? They are destroying Tesla products. They are returning Tesla cars. They are lighting Tesla recharge stations on fire. A lot of Tesla car depots on the right, when the business owner comes out, the cars are destroyed. But people are not happy with him and what he's been doing. People have to say that he has no business being in the federal government in the first place, which he shouldn't have been. News articles from the newspapers of this year: Tesla targeted by vandalism, over for Musk right-wing activism. That was back in April. And Tesla under siege as multiple EVs set on fire and vandalized across the US in one day. There's also a funny little video on YouTube. I wanted to show it, but it's a little too long. Elderly World War II veteran. He's somewhere in United Kingdom right now. He takes his tank and he flattens a Tesla vehicle. You can Google it on YouTube. I think it's World War II vet flattens Tesla with tank or something. But it's trending. More and more people are looking at it. Everybody is voicing their frustration with Elon Musk in their own way. And all of this adds up to negative reputation for the company. This affects Tesla's brand. So now Elon has to leave to protect his brand, but the damage has already been done. So who's responsible for protecting reputation? Major companies have a board of directors, also known as the C-suite, that will determine the future of the company. Depending on the setup, any of the following board members could be responsible for protecting a company's reputation. The CEO, Chief Executive Officer, the CBO, Chief Brand Officer, CRO, Chief Reputation Officer, or Head of Corporate Public Relations, PR. Any of these individuals could be responsible for protecting that company's reputation, depending on the company's setup. The thing about it is, they always have a board of directors here monitoring what's going on and what the company wants to see happen versus what they don't want to see happen and the direction they want to take that company. The board of directors also keeps the CEO in check to make sure he's doing what he's supposed to do to protect that company's reputation. The CEO has his own team of employees that's supposed to make that happen. So finally, I have some key findings as far as this project is concerned. A lot of the authors I came across, they had very similar conclusions about corporate reputation and companies willing to protect it no matter what. These days, more companies are relying on artificial intelligence to benefit greatly from AI and address concerns that might affect its results, bias outcomes, and things of that nature. Corporate reputation highlights how important reputation is, and research shows that it will become even more important as time goes on because of how things are changing. And JP Chase, this corporation turned out to be the perfect example for my case study because they are highly regarded in the financial world and led by a very vocal CEO, Jamie Dimon. Pretty much anything that company does, it's in a way that illuminates JP Morgan in a positive way. So there are some articles where they don't want it to come to light, but if you research it, you'll see it for yourselves. And they try their best to keep those articles in the closet, so to speak. But other than that, that is the general gist of my paper, and thank you very much.
No notes, perfect timing. So there is time for questions.
Yes.
What was your methodology for the findings?
It was mostly just research. What I found in like online news, what I read in peer-reviewed articles, that sort of thing. I kept my eye on the news a lot to see like what was going on with regards to reputation in some of the larger organizations. And it's a good thing I did because with regards to if I didn't do that, I wouldn't have been able to give that little spiel on Elon Musk. But we all know how that's going on. But just reading and reviewing the news, that was pretty much my methodology.
See.
Yes.
I was interested in knowing, you said they use AI now to kind of combat some of these issues. Do you have any example per se of a company that did use AI or, used AI to their benefit in terms of, mitigating the situation?
Google, JP Morgan, American Airlines, Delta, they're all doing it. Any major, I don't care what industry it is, any major corporation you can think of, they're all in it. Because if they can eliminate the bias in the code, bias in terms of wrongly identifying one person as another person, bias in terms of saying that one person getting their age wrong and the name wrong, things like that, AI could greatly benefit corporations in terms of their findings, their statistical data, and so on and so forth. That's why you have what's his name from Facebook, the CEO, Zuckerberg. That's why he's spending so much money on AI now, because he's trying to be the first to get it right, so that he can say, okay, this is what AI does for us. Look at the results, and we've generated this much money over, say, the next 5 years. They're all trying to do the same thing. Okay, one more question?
Don't go yet. There's a little
Okay.
candy.
Sure. So I just want to introduce Deanna this evening, and it's been an absolute joy. It's been a long journey and a wonderful journey, and I'm just really excited to have you here this evening. Her advisor, Stuart Davis, couldn't join us tonight, but he's sorry he couldn't be here, but a wonderful project and a delightful human being. So, I'll let you-
Good evening, everyone. My name is Liana Lopez, and I am honored to present my thesis, Between the Lines, Understanding the Role of Communication and Culture in Shaping Ethical Behavior and Employee Experience. This project is a culmination of my research on how organizations, particularly those in high-pressure environments, can foster ethical, engaged, resilient work environments through intentional communication and culture building. Okay. I brought my note cards, I'm just not even gonna hide that at this point. All right, at the heart of my research is the question, how do communication practices and organizational culture shape behavior, employee experience, and performance in high-pressure environments? My thesis argues that communication and culture are not background functions, they are foundational. When communication is clear and culture is value-driven, organizations are more ethical, more sustainable, and their people thrive. This topic is timely and urgent. In fields like finance, healthcare, education, pressure is high and burnout is real. We often talk about performance and ethics as outcomes, but they start with how people talk to each other, how leaders lead, and how safe people feel to speak up. Strong communication and culture aren't soft skills. They are strategic assets that support trust, transparency, and decision-making. Okay, to understand how communication and culture affect employees in high-pressure industries, I used the mixed methods survey. This allowed me to gather measurable data and personable insights. I received 96 responses. 71 of them were fully completed and included in the analysis. Participants came from sectors like healthcare, finance, education, and tech. They represented a mix of entry-level staff, managers, and executives with professional experience ranging from 1 year to 20+ years. Most respondents were of the ages of 25 to 34, and over 60% identified as female. This diverse sample helped me incorporate patterns across generations, roles, and industries, which I feel added depth to the findings. Sorry. Okay, so let's look at some of the numbers. 66% of all participants said that peer-to-peer communication worked well. Only 42% of all respondents said that upward communication, speaking to leadership, was effective. Just 19% of all respondents said they received regular recognition and constructive feedback. And 47% of all respondents said unethical behavior was not consistently addressed. These stats point to the gaps in leadership accessibility, ethical accountability, and recognition. Okay, to bring the data to life, I analyzed open-ended responses and identified recurring themes. The top issues included disengaged leadership, hierarchical barriers, and an over-reliance on digital tools. One respondent said, "I feel like I'm speaking into a void. No one at the top seems to be listening." These voices gave insights to the statistics. They show us the human experience behind organizational dysfunction. Taken together, the data tells a powerful story. There is a disconnect between what organizations say they value and what employees experience day to day. Middle managers and mid-career professionals in particular expressed feeling stuck between disengaged leadership and unclear expectations. Ultimately, it's not just about having values, it's about modeling them through transparent, consistent, and human communication. Here are some recommendations based on my findings. Formalize upward communication through tools like anonymous surveys and skip level meetings. Make leadership more visible and accessible. Recognize employees clearly and consistently, tying feedback to goals. Regularly audit whether values align with actual practice, and invest in inclusive multi-generational communication that practices multi-generational communication practices that build trust and collaboration. Finally, communication and culture are not nice to haves. They are infrastructure of ethical, resilient, and high-performing organizations. If we want workplaces that truly value people, we need to listen more, recognize more, and lead with clarity and care. Thank you so much.
And Liana, thank you. You left time for questions. So couple, maybe even 3. Super interesting.
Sure.
I have a question, just what functions in an organization do you think are the drivers of sort of the drivers of giving your recommendations to
Sure.
implement?
So I found through my research, I did a thematic theme and I looked for what certain ages and generations are looking for in the workplace to make it a better place. So if I could share some of that with you, I would love to. So by age group, so 18 to 24, which I thought these results were kind of like not only telling but obvious, because 18 to 24 desired more community building and relational transparency. 25 to 34 reported hierarchies and poor leadership accessibility. And then 35 to 44 expressed fear of speaking up and a need for psychological safety. So I think that every age is at a different point in their career and they're looking for different things. So I would say for 18 to 24, mentorship, clear feedback, tying constructive criticism back to the goals that you have for that position. For people who are 34 to 45, they are in the middle of their career, like mid-managers, mid-executives, and they are dealing with the disengaged leadership at the top, which leadership at the top saw, they emphasized wanting intergenerational collaboration and more clarity. So I think that it starts at the bottom, and it starts with mentorship. It starts with leading by example and actually having values that you're putting into your daily practices every day. Any other questions? Sure, Mia.
Liana, was there something that was more surprising in the results for you than anything else?
No, nothing was surprising at all. By sector, entry-level staff needed clear guidelines, and I think that they do because that's the way that they can grow in their career and not only develop themselves professionally, but personally as well. And then mid-level managers, there was a lot of reported mixed messages there, which is kind of not that surprising when you're in the middle. And then executives highlighted cultural gaps and resistance to inclusivity, and I think that the cultural gaps start at the bottom because there is no mentor, there's a lack of mentorship there, there's a lot of leadership there, and then also accessibility to leadership. You would think that a lot of people have it now with digital tools, being in the office, being remote, but there is not an access to leadership there, and there needs to be a clear line and not as many hierarchical barriers.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
the feedback was for me like shocking that it's below half.
Oh, yes,
of people.
19%.
Yeah.
Yes, that was very shocking. So
Yeah.
only 19% of people receive regular feedback.
Yeah.
Yes.
You have mentioned there's a gap with the digital tools.
Yes.
So what would be like an example of where those digital tools fall into place?
Sure. So after COVID, we have a work environment that's hybrid, remote, and there was an over-reliance on digital tools. So people were using email, digital virtual meetings, emails, things of that nature to kind of build that connection with people. But you need that human connection to actually build a culture and an organization that's going to thrive and be sustainable. So you just can't have an over-reliance on digital tools. You need to use them, but incorporate them and still manage that human connection.
So like a lot of people working from home kind of thing.
Yes, and then you have disengaged leadership. You don't see leadership in the office. You don't see certain people in the office, and then the morale goes down, or your manager's only in Monday and Tuesdays, not Wednesdays or Thursdays. So it varies, it ebbs and flows, and I think that tradition never dies, as we say in my other alma mater. But I truly believe that tradition never dies, and that you need to incorporate a little bit into everything that you do. And I'll end it there. Thank you.
And may I call the next presenter, Eric Martinez. Eric will actually introduce his capstone project, and I have my cheat sheet here as well. I don't even hide it either, Liana.
Oh, yes.
Eric, it's been really my pleasure to see your professional growth, because he's our own undergrad, and you see the whole path from the shy young student into becoming this very grounded professional in the field. And I'm not telling what you are talking about, but he had a super busy spring, and here Eric stands. That shows extremely great time management skills and professionalism. So the floor is yours. So proud.
Thank you, Minna. Thank you for the wonderful. Good evening, everyone. My name is Eric Martinez Valerio, and before I start, I just want to give you a nice shout out. I couldn't have done this without you, without Karen, without mi familia, friends that I've made along the 2 years. In more ways you guys can imagine. And this is my project, using AI as a responsible technology, a guide to the future of work. So real quick, I'll just give my agenda on what I'll be covering, my motivations for this project, what the research has revealed, and then translating that research into real-world application through my training guide framework, and then limitations for this project as well as future direction, just because I think stopping here is really a disservice to this project in its entirety, and I think there's a lot more that can be done going forward, and just with the overall scope of how the development and research into generative AI is going, I don't think it's stopping for a really long time. So, let's see. My motivation. So this project is a culmination of the last 2 years. Definitely stems way before I was even thinking about applying into the graduate program. Like Minna said, I am a graduate from the undergrad program here at Berkeley as well. And in the final months, I had seen that programs such as ChatGPT and the overall discussion of AI have been such a new but buzzword topic of discussion here. So mixed with the communication classes that I had taken at that point, it clearly just pointed to signs that generative AI tools would be in the workplace and they would have a clear impact. Once I was in the graduate program, I tried taking classes that would, I guess, help me see where that would really take me. And I just tried making the connections wherever I could, whether it was in Minna's class with global communications, in my introductory course with Karen, and just trying to see how it applies in a crisis communication lens, and even in an ethical approach with Professor Kissain. She's been really insightful on that. But more so, I think one of the biggest indicators for me was when I had the opportunity to assist in moderating a panel, revolutions or adaptations, AI and strategic comms. I worked with my fellow colleague here, Zane, and Gloria, I'm not sure if she's here, but we had the opportunity to ask questions with professionals who are already in the field in various different sectors and just ask them about what AI is currently looking like in the current landscape of the workforce. But at the same time, something that had just come off to me was the real-time knowledge gap that was forming between people who were already using generative AI in their work, in school, in their own personal lives, and distinguishing that between the people who are non-users. And this is just because of the narrative of like there is no really solid foundation on what AI really is, and I guess that narrative of having the unknown is really what puts people off. And now we're in 2025, so Gen AI is still not gone. On the contrary, it is evolving rapidly. And with this said, if we do not provide something to employees or individuals, this knowledge gap will only continue to grow. So what does the research reveal? For starters, in terms of the communications field, there needs to be an emphasis on transparency. While these tools are available, there needs to be awareness raised on ethical concerns such as the risk of misinformation, disinformation, deepfakes, and this is just associated with using new technologies. Second of all, while there is research on ethical Gen AI use, and this is growing, what I have seen in research is that it focuses more on a macro level scale of ethics and the implications it can have on a global context. And this is where we see a disconnect, because for individuals, they're not really seeing this connection in how it impacts them in their work or their day-to-day lives. Third, while research is becoming increasingly available to individuals through their work, there's still not too many widely accessible ways of providing this information to individuals and employees who are new to this technology and just giving them a solid foundation on where they can start. Finally, if employees are provided with the opportunity to learn this new material continuously, then the employees themselves are able to find new ways to incorporate and optimize their current work style, which effectively just increases their productivity, but also helps them find new ways to grow professionally in the long term. And then this is where research meets real-world application. The goal with this project has been to create a Gen AI training framework that is able to aid and empower employees to use Gen AI in the workplace. With my training guide, I've just created 5 modules which are introductory and explain just the basics of, first of all, why a training guide is even necessary, understanding artificial intelligence, generative AI and its role in 2025. So this takes a holistic approach and explains that there's more to artificial intelligence than ChatGPT, just because there has been research that has gone on for decades and stems from the 1950s. And to provide that into context is being able to give employees a more holistic approach of it, not just being one thing, but a lot of things that are really already in use by many companies, as previously said. The third module is Gen AI in the workplace and why it's important to integrate Gen AI into your role. Just emphasizing the importance of using these tools now and how to best take advantage of that as they're coming out. The fourth module covers ethical issues in Gen AI, so just providing an overview on what misinformation is, disinformation is, and deepfakes, which just gives employees an overview on what to look out for when using these tools, just because while they are new, they are not perfect. There's always going to be a mistake or two that Gen AI provides, and it's our job to be able to distinguish that and just educate employees on how to do so going forward. The final module takes a more practical approach and is able to provide employees with tips and recommendations on how they can get the most out of the Gen AI tools that they're using in the workplace. One of the things that I really focus on is prompt engineering and just being able to ensure that employees are able to ask the right questions to AI to get the best input and output. So it's not a matter of going back and forth, but just providing the context, providing information, and just learning with it as you go, because it's not something you can easily pick up overnight. And it's just a matter of how you want to ask your questions. And with that said, not everyone is always going to have the same approach to it. So it's always going to be different and curated to your approach and how you do your work. Looking at the metrics of how I plan to measure the success of this training guide, I recommend a framework of following a 30, 60, 90-day timeline for tracking completion, as well as subsequent employee feedback surveys, just because I think with the 30, 60, 90 timeline, it gives enough time to provide feedback on what is working with the modules, what is not working, also providing information on how employees and individuals feel confident about using Gen AI tools before and afterwards, and also ask for input on what else they may want to learn about it, whether it's topics or tools regarding Gen AI, and then in the future, more modules can be created just based on this feedback. Looking into the limitations, I think one of the things I had realized was Gen AI is growing and developing really fast, but not to the extent that I had really considered it would have been. So with this said, one of the things that I don't mention in this project is the introduction of new tools such as DeepSeek, which had a lot of controversy just because of how it had come out and all the logistics over it, but it serves as a reminder that this training guide is not static, it needs to be continuously updated. So for that, I think a review of this material biannual, I think, is the best way to do so, just because it gives you enough time to look at what new themes and new tools are coming out, while also being to have just a better understanding rather than just coming up with new insights that may not be feasible in the long term. Ultimately, the goal for this guide has been to support employees not through enhancing their productivity, but by also enhancing the way they make decisions. Gen AI in 2025 and beyond is here to stay and will continue to have an impact. So I think now is a crucial time to be providing individuals with that bridge on that knowledge gap. If we can provide organizations a framework, they can give employees the tools and confidence to use this responsibly going forward. And to reiterate, this capstone isn't a final point, but think of it as a launching pad. It serves as a helpful starting guide and will allow organizations to expand and explore any direction as they choose. With this said, thank you for your time.
Did you find anything interesting when because you said training modules and I do believe that they are necessary because did you have the experience that when you ask AI different things in different ways, it gives you different answers?
Yes.
Yeah, so it isn't did you find that interesting that is that where that came from, the need for training? Because it's such an expensive tool, but I think training is necessary on it.
So when I initially started playing with AI, I started with the most basic prompts like, tell me what this is, and I would get simple summaries of what was being asked. But I think it goes beyond that, and I think to be effective and productive in the workplace, you need to not have a comprehensive understanding, but at least have the first steps to take, and then learn as you go. Just because I don't think that there is a one solution fits all for everybody. Everyone has their own learning style, and I think if we can just provide them the first steps to take, to go into the unknown, I think that just helps a lot. So yeah.
Yeah, building the foundation, right?
Building that foundation and that confidence.
Nice.
First of all, congratulations on the presentation.
Thank you.
Well done. And your training module, your training guide, module 4, ethic issues and general AI. Can you elaborate more on the misinformation and disinformation in your research?
Yeah, so the misinformation and disinformation are both equally as damaging to the reputation of an organization. And like Leon said, that can be ruined in a matter of minutes. So for us, it's providing employees with the right tools to understand that while there is information that is being provided to you by generative AI, you always need to be able to double check and make sure, and not always just based off of that submit whatever it is you need to, because that's unethical, that's not right. And it just shows that you're being over reliant on this new technology rather than learning with it and having a relationship in a sense with it, just because that is your second pair of eyes if you have no one available to you. I think the hybrid workplace is definitely encouraged it that much more, just because you're not always in the office. People that you're working with aren't always with you. So that is, I guess, finding that balance in between what it is right now and just not being over relying on it is going to be key.
Thank you.
Oh, I was wondering if your research or training guide talks about data security, because I assume that the model that you're using is learning from whatever you're putting in. So in terms of in a workplace, there should did you research about security, things that you shouldn't tell the AI?
Covering thoroughly in this project, no, but I think I do mention that it's a big no-no putting for example, financials. You shouldn't really put in your social security. You shouldn't be uploading anything that you wouldn't really want to do so anywhere else. It's a good like starting point, but I do think like in expansion to other modules, we do want to focus on security management just because while ethics are one thing, protecting one's data and an organization's data is a completely different thing and different approach in it altogether.
Just have to make a quick and perhaps interesting announcement, which is because of fire hazards, we actually have to switch rooms. My sincere apologies, but the conference staff is very concerned that, so I'm so sorry that you can stretch and do one of these, which is not a bad thing. And we're gonna be in room 250, which is right across the hallway. I'll bring the food, I promise. We will continue live streaming, and my apologies for the upheaval. I'm so sorry. We're so popular.
Need any help?
I don't know what's gonna happen.
Oh no.
It might be over.
Oh, that's a shame. Yeah. As long as if you want me to carry the camera.